So what is the difference between being hired as an independent contractor versus being hired as a work for hire? That is something that I think all artists and creatives need to understand when they're looking at contracts and artist agreements. So the key difference between work for hire and independent contractor is who owns the intellectual property rights. So if a client or a brand wants to hire you and in your contract or artist agreement, you see the words work for hire, that basically means they are trying to hire you as sort of like this temporary employee, and whatever you create within that scope of work, they would own the intellectual property rights to that. You would not own the intellectual property rights or the copyrights to that at all. So think about it as an employee-employer relationship. If you're working for Apple and you're a designer and you design, let's say, the icon for the camera app for all the iOS devices, the intellectual property for that icon that you created is Apple's. It's not yours, because you basically are an employee of Apple while creating it. And not only that, whatever you create within that scope of work is the intellectual property of Apple. So let's say the sketches that you have done, that would also fall under that scope of work, and they would own that as well. And this is normal in the creative industry. So for example, in music, film and television. So let's say whoever is filming the next season of House of Dragon, which is really cool, they hire editors to edit the different scenes that they film. Basically, that editor has no intellectual property rights to whatever they edit. Or they hire actresses and actors to play the different parts in the scene. Basically, they don't own that as well. You don't want 1,000 people trying to have copyrights to 1,000 different elements in one show or one episode. So it's very normal in the creative industry to see something like this. On the other hand, you can be hired as an independent contractor. As an independent contractor, you own the intellectual property of whatever you create. You own the copyrights of whatever you design, you put out there to the world, you choreograph, you compose music, you own that. For example, I was recently hired to do a mural on the side of a new development. They hired me as an independent contractor. That design that I put up on the wall on the side of the building, I own. So I can take that and I can use it in portfolios, I can make t-shirts out of that, I can do different designs, derivatives from that, because I own the intellectual property rights. So if you're a dancer and someone hires you to do choreography or perform at a recital, you own that choreographed routine. Even though they commissioned you for that specific event, you own whatever you create from that event if they hire you as an independent contractor. That is important to really understand, because it can be the difference between being able to use your work in the future and not having anything to do with the work that you created. So hopefully this helps out when it comes to just understanding the difference between work for hire and being hired as an independent contractor. When you see that in your artist agreements or contracts, look out for that. And I'll see you next time. Peace.